currently the public opinion on Virgin is in the toilet, and I know they're separate things, but they've been branded as one thing, and we all see them as one thing. And you've got one part of it suing the NHS, another part of it with a handout to the government, and the other hand, and another part's turning into an office of the country.
Yeah,
They're fucked. They're utterly fucked.
So I feel I should just say there that we have gone live.
Oh, I stopped. That.
I had literally pressed the button just before you started that. So yeah.
Well done, Kurt.
Yeah, it's good. I'll just check that this is actually. Oh god, that's so bright. I'll just check this is actually appearing on my channel. If I can remember where my channel is, that'd be a good start. Hey, it does appear on my channel.
Yay!
I pressed the button just before you. I've just called it the Quarantine Film Club.
I like it. Have you got some appropriately dour and foreboding music?
No. I got some slightly funky jazz kind of thing.
So what?
Okay. I can change the music. It's fine.
No. I just don't know what it is. That's all.
Let me go to Incompetech and I shall find the.
I didn't hear what you said. That was more why I was reacting that way. I was like, "What? What did you say?"
Oh, okay. I'll find the thing. Where are we? Yeah, because there is a big place that does royalty-free music.
Yeah.
Called Incompetech, which is
I see.
Pretty nifty. I think this is the one I was planning to use. Yeah,
sounds great.
I shall link that to you, and then you can play it to your heart's content. As soon as I find out which window Discord is.
The open one.
Thanks.
Actually, I was more thinking of Hotel New Hampshire and keep passing the open windows, but wasn't actually meaning to be quite that patronising. I can see now that it was.
Yeah.
The one you should jump out of was what was in my head, but obviously that does sound quite worse, in fact, than somehow worse. How's that worse? It is.
So you should now have a link.
Well, on where?
On Discord.
Oh. Oh yeah.
I have completely lost
Good block.
anything. Like, I have vaguely organised systems of windows on this computer. Like, at the moment,
is this the same writer as the other thing we would have had as well?
No, this.
I've seen Kevin MacLeod stuff on.
Kevin MacLeod stuff is on a lot of stuff.
On YouTube.
Yeah, he does a lot of YouTube stuff. In fact, if you listen around, you'll go, "Hang on, isn't that the theme tune to?" And then, yeah, it is. He also does, or did, a decent amount of music for Critical Role in the early days. So yeah, he turns up in a lot of places. I just had a notification of something and I have no idea what it is. Hooray!
Yeah, I quite like that. That works for me.
It's it's funky, it's jazzy, it's hip, it's happening. It's the opposite of what we are.
I agree. It's deceptive. I like it.
Yeah.
I should be your brush rinser for the evening.
Oh no, not the sound of rinsing brushes. Oh no.
Yeah, because nobody who ever listens to us has ever used that before.
No.
Nobody ever paints while recording.
I
If I had a glass to hand, I'd be tinkling it right now.
I thought you didn't drink.
I can still tinkle a glass.
Sounds inappropriate to me.
Well, you know.
Alex is the definition of inappropriate, so you know.
Is he? Well, even with me here, he's the definition. I'm feeling all offended now.
That is a good question. Maybe you're two halves of a whole. The a hole.
I like. Yeah, I was gonna say you don't need to add on to that. That kind of works. I like that. Yeah. That sounds wrong. And where do I sign?
Yeah. I'm going to get my Letterboxd page up so I can remember what I've actually seen in the last week.
I caught up with films that you mentioned, so I should be prepared.
I'm sorry. When have you ever been prepared?
When somebody says I want to talk about these films,
Okay.
I prepare.
Fair enough. I could throw more at you as well.
You could, and if you went anime, you would lose me. If you went past year 2000, then I probably lost.
I've not watched it. I've not watched any anime films in a little while, so you're safe.
No, but you've clearly watched way more than I have. If you've actually, what have I watched since 2000? I've watched Horlock Space Pirate. I like that.
Not watched that one actually.
I like that one.
Yeah.
I like it. It's good.
Yeah, I think your interaction with anime since 2000 is basically Ghibli movies with kids, isn't it?
Yeah, mainly. Yes, and now starting to include almost all Ghibli movies as well.
Okay, we can. I'm trying to think of a start for this, to be honest.
I think we do. We could do silly fake start based on previous podcast, and then that might go really horribly wrong though.
Yeah,
Alex interrupts you and goes, "Hey, wait! This is the quarantine."
Hello and welcome to the Quarantine Film Club. I'm Mike, and no one else is here.
I'm Kurt, and Alex was supposed to interrupt you and didn't work, but never mind.
I don't know if it's Virgin Media's fault, but it's yeah.
Topical. I like it. He's already topical.
Yeah.
My internet is being a little bit wonky.
So, dear.
Or someone's internet is being a bit wonky because you're a little bit robotic, but.
Okay, we'll see how this comes through. I
think you've just gone retro, Alex. You've just gone all retro just for the sake of it's a podcast. Therefore, your internet must go to shit. And,
yeah, pretty much.
I am actually looking at YouTube right now. We are on excellent connection, so I can only presume it's your fault? ? So, for those unaware, or for those questioning what's happening. This will be on the same stream as the podcast Elite Cadre, but no one's getting any games of anything wargaming in at the moment. So we thought
because we're not allowed.
Yes, we're not allowed out. Hence the Quarantine Film Club. But one thing we have done a lot is talk movies on previous episodes of the show, and people seem to like that. So we thought we'd sit around, chat what we're watching. No new cinema releases because we can't go to the cinema.
We can't go to the cinema, but there are still things that were new that are still being gradually released in other formats. So
yes,
we
are getting the magic of new film releases straight to digital, which is a brave new world. Although I've not gone for any of those.
No.
So, right, so who wants to pick a movie to talk about first that they've seen recently?
I can go with what I watched last night.
Go on then.
I watched Parasite last night.
Ooh, okay.
Mainly because you mentioned it last week, and I realised I hadn't watched it yet, so I got on and watched it.
Okay.
Because I don't like being left out, so I got on and watched it. And I was expecting it to be good. I was not expecting it to be as good as it is. From the opening shot, I've never seen focus change to and fro between near short distance and mid distance and back again works so well. The opening shot is through a basement window out into the street, and it's the focus is on this lamp, things hanging from a lamp, and then it goes out into the street, comes back to the lamp, and it just very, very impressive. Brings your attention back to what's going on, the things you can't see, the conversation you can't see going on around you, and then back out into the street to take your attention back to just. That was an impressive start, and it just got better from there, to be honest. It's really good. Yeah.
I think, just for a quick mention, Parasite, in case you don't know it, is a 2019 Korean film.
I could cut to that. Okay, it was the film that won Best Film in the Oscars this year.
Yes.
That's a good way to carry on, isn't it?
And directed by Bong Joon-ho, who also did Snowpiercer. if you've seen that one.
I did not know that, but I have seen
Yeah.
that one. Yeah,
Yeah.
did not know that.
So I went and watched this film. I think it was a couple of months ago now, and I was also similarly very impressed with it. It deals with this sort of a lower class, lower income sort of Korean family, and their relationship with a much more high class or at least more wealthy family.
Yes, very much. Yes, and the way that they earn from, exploit, live off of that of the family.
Well,
But
the title itself is a wonderful play on words because it's the whole thing of who is the parasite on whom
Indeed.
and how many meanings that title can have. There are a couple that are very spoilery and like you kind of need to if you've not seen the film, really do, because some of those revelations are quite nifty.
Would it be worth highlighting where said films are available? Because I don't think Parasite is Kurt with the old brush being clean there.
Well, for traditional sake, obviously, yes.
Yeah.
I don't think Parasite is on Netflix or Amazon, is it? It's a little too new for that yet.
No, Parasite has only just, I believe, hit streaming sites in the UK. And when I say streaming, I mean streaming to buy.
Yes.
So, in fact, it's on Google Play. It's still on pre-order. So I have a copy bought from the US Google store because I know how VPNs work. Yeah, sometimes they're cheaper over there. But it should be coming to UK stuff fairly soon.
I'm sure it'll be on Amazon to buy or something imminently, I think.
Yeah.
It's not ready.
Once the pre-order.
Yeah, no, looking at it looks like it's due for release on the 1st of June in the UK. Digital release.
Still a few weeks away then. But no, there's so it's a film that's got a lot of interesting attention to detail in places as well. One of the things, and this needs kind of context. There's a point in the film where one of the richer family asks someone who's working for them to prepare a meal.
Yeah.
And that meal is something called ramdon, which, unless you know the context behind it, doesn't really do anything. But what it is it's a combination of two different kinds of cheap Korean instant noodles, but with very expensive steak.
Oh, well, the steak kind of gets added as they throw it in, wasn't it? But yeah.
Yeah.
I think ramdon, the steak is an addition even to that, isn't it? But it's the combination of, and it's almost like it's a ramen. It gets talked about as ramen as well. So
it is Korean ramen. Kind of,
yeah. I don't know if you watch Binging with Babish on YouTube.
That's exactly where I know that from.
He has cooked ramdon on his show.
Yeah.
I only figured it out from watching what she did and from knowing. By the way, what's 175?
I've got voice chat back.
Don't know.
So yes, binging with Babish is exactly where I heard about the whole rammed on thing as well. If you don't know about binging with Babish, it's a YouTube channel that deals with a lot of the time creating dishes from films or TV shows, but also does a lot of basics series like doing cooking of various dishes. So,
Well said that, Mike. I couldn't have said that better myself, you know.
I'm guessing you did while I was offline.
Oh, perhaps, yeah, maybe you didn't hear any of that then, because yeah.
No,
basically-
I haven't heard anything for the last few minutes. So.
Oh, okay.
But yes, so Parasite as well is a film that's very kind of concerned with, and this is a very strange thing to think of, but height and angle.
Yes, I can see what you mean. Yeah, it's, yes.
There is a an interesting scene. I think it's about 2/3 of the way through the film, where you're dealing with the lower class family going home,
Yes.
and you see the rain starting, and you know, in the richer neighborhoods, it is like a beautiful sort of gentle pitter patter of rain.
Yeah.
But then you see them head down through the city, and it is a literal descent into hell.
It's torrential. It's destructive. It's yeah.
Yeah, it is an absolutely fantastic piece of filmmaking.
I can't help but wonder if repeat viewings will definitely reveal more intricacies, more layers of I
Yeah,
suppose of the metaphor, or I think you watch something like Shane Carruth's movie Spring to Mind. You watch something and you go, I know there's more going on, but I don't know what it is. And then you watch it again and again and again. I mean, Prime is probably the biggest one for that for me personally, where the more you watch it, and even though I've watched it 6, 7, 8 times, I still get more from it every time I watch it,
yeah,
or I see something new.
yeah. Oh,
And I think this will be like that.
definitely. I think part of it is cultural as well.
Yes,
obviously.
we miss
but,
stuff. Yeah,
but there is an awful lot there that I think, having seen it once so far, I kind of want to go back to the beginning and go, how much of this can I see coming? How much of this are there signs that it's going to happen beforehand?
Foreboding, or
because
shadowing. Yeah,
there's an awful lot of things that I think you possibly could pick up on earlier, but that's very much open to interpretation. I do,
but also, I think there's more. Thinking about what you said about who are the parasites, and you can arguably say everyone, but
yeah,
that's a bit of a cop out. But I'm wondering if that element, that cultural element, is in it earlier, and I think there's a lot more going on.
Yeah, I think one of the things as well is it sets that scene so well by, at the start, the entire family is there trying to earn a living by folding pizza boxes in their home. But there's a fumigation van that is fumigating the neighbourhood that's coming round. And as it gets to the house, someone goes to close the window, and the father of the family says, "No, don't. We'll get free fumigation if we leave the windows open."
Yep.
And that is a real scene setter for where that movie is.
Yeah, because it's gross, and they start, and then they're choking, but they still won't shut the window.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good.
That apartment as well is it tells you everything you need. It is a tiny
The
apartment.
bathroom alone tells so much about it, doesn't it?
The fact that they have to have the raised toilet on a platform because otherwise it wouldn't work with the sewer system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be too low. Yeah.
No, it's a phenomenal film. I mean, I went to watch it on a day. I'd had a bad day, and I thought, I'm going to treat myself. I'm going to go and see what is not now an obscure film. It had just won the Oscar, but it's like, I'm going to go and watch something foreign language at 10 p.m.
It feels like an obscure film.
Yeah.
I suppose because anything of that ilk, anything of Korean, or anything like Chan-wook Park or any of his films, yes, they've been remade as American movies now, several of them anyway. I mean, obviously, Old Boy springs to mind, but as the standout of of sort of Korean cinema that we have access to or easy access to. But yeah, so I suppose my brain goes, it's obscure, but of course it's not, because it won the best film Oscar. It's
Yeah, exactly. But then, how many people do you know who would be willing to give a shot to Korean cinema? Because, I mean, I'd be willing to bet it wouldn't be an awful lot. And yes, having subtitles there does take you slightly out, but it is the tiniest bit of attention for some people that you've got to pay to kind of get subtitles.
yeah.
So,
I think so. For me, it was. I think my gateway to Korean was definitely horror.
yeah. Oh, okay.
Speaking of Korean horror, I'm actually watching at the minute the Kingdom on Netflix, which is a series. It's now got a second series on Netflix. And I'm not sure the specific timeline, the specific sort of year it's set, but it's set in Korea shortly after the Japanese sort of invasion and sort of rule almost. So it's very heavily kind of Japanese influenced, but it's a zombie sort of zombie horror. I don't know what you call it, but I'm only sort of started watching it, only up to the second episode so far. But I have that problem of A, it's sort of horror, and B, it's foreign language, so my other half is not at all keen on it, so I'm sort of having to grab an episode here and there where I can, and they're an hour long each, so it's yeah. But,
Well, that's a bit of a task then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, it's definitely worth watching.
But good. I haven't seen that actually. I'm intrigued by that. I might have to check that out.
Yeah. But yeah, and it's interesting as well because it's very early on. It kind of alludes to how the sort of the zombie uprising occurs. What has caused it to happen? And it may well be as we go through it that is proven not to be the case. But it's also quite nice that it's not just it's a virus. You know, people get infected and become zombies. There's kind of a reasoning behind it, and yeah, but
It often is in most, unless it's Giorgio Romero, there usually is a reason or some kind of cause, isn't there?
Yeah, but often, I mean, like Walking Dead. I mean, again, I've not seen a massive amount of Walking Dead, but I watched the first couple.
I've watched up to season 6. I've watched most of it.
Well, yeah, the first couple of seasons I've watched, and obviously at the end of the first season, they sort of go to the CDC and discover the cause, but it's not really much of a cause that they discover other than it's a virus of the brainstem. It's
you don't really find out properly, do you? I agree.
No.
When you said they find the cause, I'm thinking I missed that. I don't remember that.
I'll be honest. For most zombie based TV shows and movies, it really is best if you kind of a lot of time don't try and explain too hard, because if you move into the science of zombies, you suddenly run up against all these reasons why this really shouldn't work. And it's probably best if you just kind of patch over those holes and go, oh no, this is the thing that's happened, guess we better live with it.
Run.
Yeah. I mean, it's not impressive. I think there's another sort of fairly big Korean film that deals with zombies in is it Train to Busan?
Oh yes, yeah. Not seen it, but I am aware of the film.
Yeah.
Again, I haven't seen it either, but yes.
Not one I've seen because I don't generally go in for sort of zombie stuff anyway. But it is.
I do, but I haven't watched that one.
Yeah, it is very well regarded. So there's that. Any other thoughts on Parasite then?
Watch it when you can. It's good.
Yeah.
It's been my it's worth the effort. It's definitely there's a lot more going on. There's a lot more. It's worth the investment and the time and the effort.
Yes, it definitely is.
I think the same film, if it had been made in English language, would still be, if it was made the same. I think it wasn't a token gesture win for the Oscars in any way. I would say it really is that good.
Yeah, I can. Aside from like, there's a couple of references you'd have to tweak if it was English language, but
oh yeah,
and I was going to say societally you'd probably have to tweak it, but I don't think you would.
No, I don't think you would. No, I think
I-
you could definitely make it British and make it work, definitely. But I think American
Yes.
too. You could play race a bit harder if you did it American without trying to offend anyone.
Yeah, almost certainly. But I can see that sort of quite literal upstairs downstairs mentality
Yep.
working very well with some aspects of British culture.
Oh yeah, because you could definitely play who's the parasite. Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
Yeah. No, that.
that's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's do
Well,
it. Well,
Actually, what I could do then is move on to one of the films I've watched in the last couple of weeks, which kind of, well, spurs off that idea, if not necessarily that context. But I watched Attack the Block.
oh, I like that.
So Attack the Block is a 2011 film.
It's that old already. What's
Yeah.
happening?
Yeah, it's nearly a decade old.
Shh.
And
For a second. I don't know if you will remember this. We'll come back to it in a moment. But this kind of is relevant because it's potentially getting a TV series. But the Eisenhorn books that GW released, the Inquisitor ones.
yeah,
Do you know when they were released?
go on.
Well, one of them was released in 2001.
Okay. Yep. That's back there with the Gaunt's Ghosts novels. But
Yeah, it is old.
anyway, Attack the Block. Attack the Block is a very British alien invasion movie. It was directed by Joe Cornish of Adam and Joe fame. Produced by Nara Park from off of Space Black Books. Like
Hot Fuzz is probably the big
yeah,
one.
a load of those kind of British comedies, and with a cast that makes you go, huh, when you see it, because it's John Boyega before he got big. It's got Jodie Whittaker before she was the Doctor. It's got Nick Frost, who is basically in everything with Simon Pegg. And I've only just realised the soundtrack was by Basement Jaxx. Interesting. It's set in a council estate, South London, and the big defining thing about this alien invasion is that the initial reaction is not, let's run away, because the alien lands in front of a group of London youths, a street gang, and their first reaction is, it's an alien, let's kick its teeth in.
I just like your interpretation of that. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it better myself.
It is an hour and a half of I'd say very British, but I think it would be approachable by anyone. Humour on an alien invasion, coupled with like some pretty decent action sequences, some very good practical effects in the aliens themselves, which full credit to them for having guys in suits playing aliens but not looking entirely like guys in the suits. Yeah, it's a good representation of that kind of inner city life and confining the entire film pretty much to one tower block.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's hilarious. It has so many levels. Yeah, did you put your eye or did you write it? Or have I got that wrong?
No, it's Joe Cornish.
It is. All right.
Yeah, Joe Cornish wrote and directed it. Yeah.
All right. Okay. I thought. Yeah, it's really good. As you say, it's just more of the same of the kind of similar humour to Hot Fuzz and those kind of things to my mind, but very different setting, a very different cast and story. Very good.
Yeah, the whole sequence with the kids tooling up to take on the aliens, it just has some beautiful moments in, because one of them walks into what is a gaudily decorated flat. I mean, you kind of know the type. They're like, got those deep red walls and like bits of gold trim everywhere, despite the fact it's a council flat. But then on the wall is just a rack of swords. And
Nice.
he walks up, picks up the middle one, walks away, then goes, nah. Walks back, gets the big sword. It's like, this is perfect. You have this. The whole thing has a wonderful sense of humour with this. It's a community and it's not. It's a whole lot of people who are literally locking themselves away from each other, but are also very tight with each other when trouble comes. And it's also a film that does not have essentially a big damn hero in it. It's got anti-heroes, but it doesn't have that sort of central good guy.
John Boyega kind of, but he's hardly the hero of the movie. No.
Well, given that the first thing you see of him is him basically holding someone up at knife point.
Yeah.
It's got something very interesting. I mean, there is the whole question of, does that redeem him as a character? Is he actually that bad in the first place, or is it society that's put that on him? It does, even though it's not the main focus of the movie, it does very much have that undercurrent, and it drops things in about this is his home life. He is just a kid. And
yeah.
It does do more with that than you think it would for like an 85-minute film that's, got very much like kind of an ensemble cast. There's a lot of people in that film.
I'd forgotten how many until somebody heard somebody talking about Jodie Whittaker having been in it. I was like, wait, really? Where?
Yeah.
Of course, we did look at the cast again fairly recently.
Yeah. No, she plays a nurse, I believe, in it. Yes, trainee nurse.
I think so.
That's
yeah.
the one. So yeah, that's right, because I made the joke of she's had a promotion. She's gone from a nurse
to doctor.
No, a nurse to the doctor.
Nice.
Not only a promotion in that sense, but a promotion in the definite article.
Indeed.
See, there we go.
Yeah.
So, it's a film that's been available pretty much on every purchasing streaming service. I don't know whether it's on Netflix.
It's been on Netflix, certainly. It might be still. It's definitely been on there.
I think it is. It is on something for free at the minute. We were having a look at it the other night, but decided against it. I'll just have a quick look now what it's on. Obviously, this is in the UK, so other territories may vary.
Yeah. Oh, definitely they will.
Will.
It is on Amazon Prime at the moment. Attack the Block.
There we
Just
go.
when you start browsing Netflix when you're on a VPN and go, I can watch Indiana Jones, and then you realise you can't.
Well. That's that.
Well, you can because the BBC have shown it recently, so it's currently on on iPlayer, but
Yeah.
from a UK point of view, but showed all of them recently. But
So, VPNs are an interesting trick with Netflix.
Interestingly, it's not going to be on there for very much longer, but Fifth Element is currently on Channel 5's on-demand service until the 29th of April.
ooh,
So if you fancy watching Fifth Element, that is something we watched recently, actually. I saw that it was on there, and I was like, yep, we're going to have to watch it.
right, that has to segue into the Die Hard discussion. Is Fifth Element Die Hard 4?
Ooh.
Ignoring 4.0, because you should. But, or certainly the one after that. Actually, I don't dislike 4, but is Die Hard, is Fifth Element actually a Die Hard movie?
That is interesting. I'd never heard that contention before, and now you've put it in my brain, and it's kind of whirring away. I like it.
It isn't. That's not Mike. I didn't make that up. So if you've never watched, you clearly haven't watched Movies with Mikey on FilmJoy on YouTube. And now I can't believe I haven't told you about this before. He's amazing. He comes with really interesting insights. There's a whole episode about Die Hard versus Fifth Element. Is Fifth Element actually a Die Hard movie? Every element that belongs in Die Hard movies is there. It's awesome.
No, I can absolutely understand that. That works
Too well.
more than I care to think about. For those not aware, Fifth Element. I feel like it needs to go without saying, but whatever. Fifth Element is a film from 1997. Directed by Luc Besson, starring Bruce Willis and Mila Jovovich. And Gary Oldman, because you cannot remove his performance from that film, despite the fact that he doesn't meet Bruce Willis at any point, which is always an interesting one to think back on.
Which also fits with other Die Hard movies as well, because very often he doesn't meet them. If he does meet them, it's at a distance, right at the end.
Yeah, and he's very brief, shortly before an explosion and a witty quip of some sort.
Yep.
I can absolutely get behind that. That's good. Fifth Element is a film that I always look at it and think, this is like a sci-fi action movie that Terry Gilliam would make. I know it's a Besson film, but it feels like there's a hint of Gilliam there. It has.
Is that a deliberate segue? Because if it is, I like it.
No, it's not a deliberate segue. I'm not going anywhere other than just to say that it has some excellent practical creature effects. Because, again, I do like the whole guys in suits, animatronic faces. A lot of the time that can work and has a very physical sense that badly done CG, and this is 1997, so...
What was done well in 97 was spaceships and not a lot else.
Yes, absolutely.
You could argue dinosaurs, but go back and watch them.
That one, we can talk about that later. But Fifth Element is a big, gaudy, brash, loud film that is an assault on the senses for a long while. But I've really... The first time I watched it, I didn't really get it.
Oh, okay.
I was only young, I was only like 14.
I'm not going into that conversation with you. How old was Kurt when Fifth Element came out? No. Older than that.
Yes.
Definitely. Older than we are both now, I think.
That's a bit harsh.
It should be said that Fifth Element is not without its controversy. It did receive nominations for the Razzies.
Wow, for being so bad. Wow.
Yeah.
I love it. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely one that you have to get the humour, and you have to get that this is space fantasy. We're not gonna sit here and give you explanations of the tech. We're gonna say this is a rip roaring adventure with a weird cameo from Lee Evans, like halfway through the film.
It's such a good cameo. There are so many good cameos in that, though.
Yeah.
What's his name now? I can't think of him. Played Bilbo Baggins in the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Oh, Ian Holm.
Yeah.
Ian Holm, yeah, he's in it as well.
Never without my permission.
Never without what? Sorry.
Never without my permission. I can't do it without his stutter. What is that about? He stutters doing it, and I can't help but do it. But yeah.
What I would say as well is it has managed to worm its way into almost everyday life around here, because if someone wants the light turned on, the words they say are "as is light."
Multipass.
Yeah, Lilu Dallas Multipass is always a classic as well.
I think the humour element is interesting, especially now he's also made a film from his influence. So Fifth Element was massively influenced by Valerian, the series of Valerian graphic novels.
Yeah.
Luc Besson has said that he was a massive fan as a kid, was hugely influenced by them, and they are, to read, I've only read the first one, but they are campy and silly and funny and very influenced themselves by classic Buck Rogers and Flash Gordon, but old black and white Flash Gordon. So
yeah,
it's that kind of silly space humour that we don't see much of generally now. I watch Star Wars is kind of part of that as well, but we tend to ignore that in Star Wars in a strange way.
Oh no, Star Wars over time, people have seemingly demanded, it must be serious. It must be a grounded reality. Like, No, this.
Have you seen the arguing droids in the desert at the start? For crying out loud.
This is a series where teddy bears save the universe. I mean, come on. But no, I watched Valerian.
And then eat their victims.
We're not going there. But yes, that is the implication.
Very implied.
But yes, I watched Valerian, to go back onto a topic of the film we were just on, and all I'd heard from it was that it had been roundly rubbished by basically every single critic going. So it was only released in 2017. It's Dane DeHaan and Cara Delevingne, written and directed by Luc Besson, and from, as you said, the French comic Valerian.
And massively practically crowd-funded by Luc Besson.
Yeah.
To get it made.
I had to say, I really, really enjoyed it.
I do too.
I sat there watching it. It's like, there's almost no coherent plot here for a lot of the film. But I'm absolutely fine with Luc Besson going out and going, here are all the mad things I wish to put on screen. Because, frankly, that is him at one of his most entertaining things. He has, Leon down one end of the spectrum, and then right at the other, there is Valerian. You wouldn't say that the two films could be made by the same director, but I absolutely loved Valerian for that. I realised that if you don't get that style of film, you're going to hate it. It's 2 hours of your life you won't get back, and you will hate every single second of it. But if you want...
It's hardly hard sci-fi, is it? Let's be fair.
Oh, no. Definitely not. If you want something that's fun, has a little bit of campiness to it, is a riot of colour and sound and everything in between...
Tries to make sexism ironic and doesn't quite manage it.
Yeah, that's...
I like that. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah, I've just seen it's got Clive Owen in it, and I'm trying to remember what he played in it.
He's like their boss. He's the general kind of guy that is their boss.
Oh, yes. Okay. Oh, that's fine. Oh, and Rutger Hauer. Huh.
Yeah. Right. He's the president, isn't he?
Yeah.
He really kind of appears at the beginning, sort of presenting and narrating right at the start.
Yeah. I've just looked up kind of how much money it took, and not enough to be profitable.
No, even though it was all kind of,
Yeah. So it was made for roughly $209 million. Box office was $225 million. Which, people think, oh, that's profitable. Like, no. Marketing is not part of that figure.
No, it's not.
So.
No, I enjoy it. I like it a lot. I've watched it a few times. I watched it with the children as well because I really enjoy it. It's fun.
Oh, interesting.
Wouldn't necessarily recommend the comics though; those really are out of date. And,
watching Valerian with children. Now there's,
Yeah.
So this segue into Valerian wasn't the segue I thought we were getting. I thought we were getting a segue into Brazil.
We will. Give us a minute. Look, you have known Mike and I how long?
Well, you can be talking about something completely unrelated.
We could segue anything to Brazil.
Yeah,
anything.
However, Brazil is actually on Amazon Prime as well at the moment. So,
okay.
If you fancy watching it, it's there.
Well, if
Which
we're
version?
Oh, I think that's whatever version they have. Whatever version they have to hand. I think
the shortest, I expect now and then. But yeah.
Yes, probably.
Don't watch the short ones. Rubbish.
Watch a version if you've got it available.
Yeah, it's fair.
Although the same thing does not apply for Blade Runner, and we're not going into that conversation. I
like having watched all the versions, but I like the final cut best. But I like having watched the commentary. I don't want to watch the commentary. Not commentary, the monologue. But I like having watched it.
So the version of Brazil that's on Amazon Prime at the moment is the 2-hour 23 version.
Oh, that's quite good.
I don't know if that is.
That's one of the middling ones. There's 4 cuts of Brazil. That's not the short original cinema release, and that's not the super extended because that's nearly 3 hours.
I'm genuinely surprised it's that low with Terry Gilliam. Genuinely surprised. So
the original cinema release was just inside 2 hours, I think. So that's not the original release.
Yeah. What I would say, without getting into heavy discussion on Brazil, because
Yeah, let's do that.
that can wait for another time.
Well, it feels like something we should talk about on our first episode of this, but we could do a whole episode on it, practically. Yeah.
Okay, okay, fair enough.
I tell you what we could do. We could always talk about Brazil in some form.
Just,
I like that better.
Just eke it out over 2 years, 10 minutes at a time.
Yeah.
What I would say for Brazil is, if you do get the chance to watch it, please do go and watch it, because it's Terry Gilliam, almost in his purest form as a filmmaker, making something that on your first watch you will be confused by and possibly be annoyed by, but then delight in at the end before going, wait, hang on.
Wait. So Robert De Niro was a terrorist plumber. And that's a minor character.
Yeah. A terrorist plumber assaulted by paperwork.
Yes.
So...
Misspelled by yeah.
Let's do this segue properly, shall we? He says, having to go to the disambiguation page for Brazil on Wikipedia. So Brazil is a 1985 film directed by Terry Gilliam.
Yes, I was the member of the podcast that was born before it was made.
So was I.
I
I was nearly 3 when that came out.
Okay.
Which is a fancy way of saying I was 2. It's set in a very 1984-ish world.
I have heard it said it is the film that 1984 should have been.
I think that's fair, actually.
I think it's fair too.
Yeah.
It's not my lines, but I think I agree with it.
It stars Jonathan Pryce as a low-level bureaucrat. I think it's fair to say.
Yeah. Civil service-y kind of thing. Yeah.
Oh, and Ian Holm again. Oh, that's interesting. You've got some interesting performances in there from especially Michael Palin.
Yeah. Yes. His uncle or something like that. Who appears to be younger.
That's a very very uncomfortable role in that film.
Yeah. That's right.
And while it's dealing with this strange dystopian future that is, it is both it is very oppressive and weirdly opulent in places, but completely cut back in others.
That's very 1984 as well, though, isn't it?
Yeah. It's also dealing with this absurdist dream world that Jonathan Pryce has inside his own head.
But that's because his life is so grey and is so repetitive and is so dull that you get that escape into dreams element of trying to say, in a way, of trying to say who he is, but also kind of metaphorically, potentially, depending how long you want to talk about it, what he wants to be.
Yeah.
Who he wants to be.
Well, the whole sort of dream sequence with it's Jonathan Pryce growing wings, sailing through the skies with the woman of his dreams, but then fighting off a giant robotic samurai. It is a wonderful trip into the odd, but not the oddest Terry Gilliam has ever been.
No, definitely not.
No. And again, very much worth your time, because it does. I mean, the more I think about it, the more I go, oh yeah, no, that is just the plot of 1984.
Yep.
Yeah. And having read the original book, I would say this is possibly a better version of it, but if it sees further, it is only because it stands on the shoulders of giants, as it were.
Yeah.
So, interestingly, the quoted running time on Wikipedia is 2 hours and 23.
Which is the same as Alex said, I think.
Yeah. That's the only running time they list.
Oh, very bad. I've got a Criterion box set with 4 versions of it. I bought a Blu-ray version, which I think is one of the extended versions, but I haven't yet watched that version yet. I intend to possibly very soon after this conversation. Not today, yes, but next few days I think I might watch it.
I was going to say, we're recording at sort of 10 p.m. at night. So watching something after this it is not necessarily the best of ideas.
Not a film, certainly not a long film. No.
Yeah. Sorry, I've just noticed in the Wikipedia article for this main cast, Jonathan Pryce as Sam Larry, but followed by Tom Cruise was also considered for this role.
I did not know that. New trivia on Brazil. Well done.
If true, and I do put rather large emphasis on that, if, that would be an extremely different film.
Yes.
It's like the people it suggests as alternates for Jill Layton, who is the female co-star.
Well put. Well worded. I wonder where you're going to go with that description. Yes.
Where else was I going to go with it?
Oh, the various facets of her character.
Okay. Yeah.
That's not me being inappropriate, I'd like to add. It's not.
The consideration was to either have that be Jamie Lee Curtis or Madonna.
Okay.
Again,
I mean, in fairness, this is a film that has Robert De Niro as a supporting character.
yeah.
There aren't many of those.
Archibald Harry Tuttle.
I can never remember if he's Buttle or Tuttle.
He's definitely Tuttle.
Tuttle. Good.
Yeah. And does that role brilliantly.
Very.
It's like
His entrance is fantastic.
Yeah. Just looking down that cast and just seeing, Ian Holm,
Jim Broadbent,
Jim Broadbent, Bob Hoskins.
yeah. Oh yeah,
Your
'cause
class.
he's the legal plumber, isn't he? He's the official.
Yeah. But then you get down to like some genuine British character actors like Gordon Kay as well.
Well, he crops up in Jabberwocky briefly and various places like that.
I think it's primarily because Gilliam does, or certainly did, a lot of his filming in and around the UK. So you do find British character actors with like a sprinkling of Americans just kind of add some flavour to the dish.
Add some ratings. Potentially.
To get the film sold to studios, I think would be more important.
Yeah, that's fair, yeah.
Did you check on the Wikipedia article the budget to box office?
No.
Brazil?
Oh, that is the saddest number I think I've seen.
So I do recall, before you do that, that the release was delayed by more than a year, and in the end, Terry Gilliam took out a full-page ad in the Times, which was blank, that just had it in the middle of the page, when are you going to release my film?
That sounds very familiar from what I've heard. Yeah.
No, what is it? I can't remember. I don't know what
So the budget was $15 million. The box office for North America was $10 million.
Ooh.
So that is that it could be said to have underperformed at the box office.
Didn't it come out the same year as Top Gun and things like that as well, though, didn't it? Or something like that? Very close to it.
Quite possibly. I don't know what year Top Gun is. But
no, it might be 87, actually. Yeah.
But,
close, but...
1985... Well, I can search it up for 1985 in film, because that usually brings up some gems. 1985's highest-grossing films. Back to the Future.
Ah.
Rambo, First Blood, Part 2.
Okay.
Rocky IV. The Colour Purple. Out of Africa, Cocoon, Jewel of the Nile, Witness, The Goonies, and Spies Like Us.
Excellent. This was awesome movies. But obviously you can see that Brazil would have won Best Picture if it wasn't for Colour Purple, obviously.
It's certainly an interesting year. I mean, being a sci-fi film in the same year as Back to the Future, that's kind of tough.
Yeah, it's a big ask.
Yeah. So, look, we've done films now that Kurt and I have seen and spun off from those. Alex, have you watched anything interesting recently?
Well, not that cultured, unfortunately, but we recently took out Disney Plus membership.
Yeah.
So I've been rewatching through all the Marvel films.
Oh, okay.
So we're currently just watch Spider-Man. I think I know Spider-Man's not on Disney Plus, but we watched Spider-Man on Blu-ray.
Is that Homecoming or Far From Home?
You click there.
Was that Homecoming or Far From Home?
Homecoming is what we're on to, Toby. I've actually never seen Thor Ragnarok and Black Panther, so
Oh my
I know.
God, you're in for a treat. It's good.
The two best, regarded as the two best films by a lot of people in the whole series, two of the better ones. I've not seen either of them, so we've got Doctor Strange, and then I think it's Thor, then Black Panther, or one of. I can't remember exactly which order. We got it on got a link for the.
I don't know if you can
order.
find it. I don't know if it's possible for you to find. It's hard to find things in Facebook from long ago. But Kev Bryant's comments on Facebook with regards to Black Panther will always stick with me. They were so bad. It was so hilarious. Did you see Mike? Do you remember seeing it, Mike?
I don't remember.
He liked it. It was good, but I don't understand why they had to push the racial elements so hard all the way through the whole film. He got lambasted all the way down through the comments. It was like he tried to take it back. And then tried to correct it with "I'm not a but," and you're like, "No, mate, just breaks, just back it up, just don't say anymore."
No, that is not a fun place to go with your comments on that on that movie. But no,
Thor Ragnarok I couldn't recommend enough. It's just so funny. It's more. It isn't necessarily that it is the best. It is just the funniest and so entertaining.
Well, Thor Ragnarok, just things like musically manages to capture that sort of 80s big, colourful. It's certainly got a very different tone to a lot of the other Marvel movies because it's trying to move more towards that Guardians of the Galaxy side of things. It's saying, hey guys, it's not just about superheroes fighting on Earth. It's about silly intergalactic hijinks. Not going too much because you said you haven't seen that one yet.
No, not seen it.
Do you know what I just did? I just went, you know what? What it really should have had is it should have had a cameo by Sam Neill in it. And I was just saying that to myself as a joke. And I went, wait a minute, it has got a cameo by Sam Neill in it. Just thinking about the Hunt for the Wilder People, Taika Waititi's previous, well, obviously there's other films he's made, but the amusing other film that he made shortly before, and thinking about Sam Neill's presence in that, and thinking Sam Neill should have been Ragnarok. Oh wait, he's a very small cameo.
Do you know what? I've completely wiped that from my mind.
Where Loki's having the theatre performing in front of him.
Okay, right, okay, yep, gotcha. Yeah.
Just be aware.
Not a spoiler.
Not seen it.
Yeah, we're not going to get on there. So what did you say? No. You said the last one you'd seen was Spider-Man: Homecoming, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so Spider-Man: Homecoming. I know that was an interesting one because that was. It wasn't Spider-Man's introduction into the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
No.
But it was his first solo film of the cinematic universe.
And it had a Batman actor playing a bad guy, which I loved.
Yes.
Yeah, yes. I actually thought he was the best part of that film.
He's awesome. I always love Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton is just great.
Yeah, Michael. There's one film where I take issue with that, but we'll save that for another time.
Which film is that, Mike?
Birdman.
Oh.
I have issues with that film.
Let's do that another time. That's a long conversation.
No, that is definitely a different conversation.
Whenever, I know Michael Keaton has a large back catalogue. I know he's been Batman. He's been, Vulture.
He's done a lot of comedy movies. He's done a lot of quite hammy comedy movies.
Yeah. I will. Whenever I see him now, I will always just think of TLC Lyrics because of the other guys. Have you seen that one with Will Ferrell and Matt Damon?
Nope.
Yeah.
I mean that. I think that's funny. I think that's a cracking film. The other guy.
I liked it.
But it just that sort of humour where he's just quoting TLC lyrics without realising it, just as kind of life advice to people.
Right. Okay.
He's just none the wiser to it. It just makes me chuckle. That is kind of my style of humor.
Okay.
I'm a Neanderthal, so.
No, that's fair. If that's your style of humour, that's your style of humour. That's absolutely fine. There's no judgment here unless you like bad movies, which, you know.
I like some bad movies.
I think everyone likes some bad movies.
Yeah.
There's a line to be drawn where how bad they can be. But Spider-Man: Homecoming, I certainly enjoyed Michael Keaton's performance, but the problem I had is I felt the film was too slow. Just in general. The point where this got to me, and mild spoilers if you've not seen it, I guess. It's been a few years, but I can kind of safely say the point where he's locked in a warehouse.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And he himself gets bored in the film.
That could be. Yeah, I agree. I don't think the film in general is generally slow. In general, slow and takes too long. But I can't argue with that bit. I'm not quite sure what that bit achieves.
Yeah, I mean, I think I can see what it was going for in that it needed an explanation for how he'd had time and space to play with those powers and work out not the powers, the suit's abilities, and work out what it could actually do.
It could have been a montage.
I mean, it practically was after that point, but it's the point where it gets to him getting bored.
I've just realised something.
Go on.
Doesn't he call the AI Karen?
Yeah.
So his suit's AI is a Karen. I hadn't actually realised that.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
I
got that joke.
I don't get that reference.
Yeah, I don't think I want to explain it.
Anyway, what I would say is I kind of enjoy it slightly more retrospectively, having seen Far From Home, which I'm not going to go into because you've not seen that yet. But yeah, I mean, it's certainly a Marvel movie that's, you know, it's up there. It's a very watchable film. I wouldn't say.
I think I have to put my hand up and say that I'm not impartial on the Marvel movies. I struggle to find fault with many of them at all, and I like movies. And Mike and I have talked about movies at length in the past, both in person and on podcasts at length. I think probably because I was such a Marvel fanboy as a kid that yes, some of the recent X-Men outings have been, Apocalypse is awful. It could have been just and Phoenix has good and bad moments. I'm not going to say X-Men 3 is better. I can't say that, but
X-Men 3 being better than anything.
But however, everything that's been piloted that's part of the current MCU, I really struggle. Even things like Thor 2 seemed like it was the poorest of them until you watch Endgame and go back to it and you go, oh my god, I actually really enjoy this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just as part of the whole piece, you mean?
Yeah, well, just because it references it so heavily, and then you go back to it and watch it through, and it's on its own sort of standing. It definitely is not the best.
I think Thor the Dark World has its moments. It's not a terrible film.
No.
But I think it's certainly one of the weaker parts of.
I quite like the way that they tried to take them away from just being superhero films and tried to give them more, so they were specifically something else. They were there was more to them. They were trying to be other genres without superhero movies being a genre of its own, because it doesn't really work as a genre apart from being part of sci-fi. It doesn't quite work.
Oh no, they definitely do try as part of the series to actually differentiate between the various films they're putting out. I think you get things like the first Captain America film, which was definitely very much kind of mostly a period piece.
And it was my least favourite for a long time.
It is one of my favourite of the whole bunch, but I know why that is. Because it's directed by, and I can't remember the name of the director off the top of my head, so you'll have to excuse me. It's directed by the same person who directed The Rocketeer, which was...
I like The Rocketeer, but I'm not a huge fan of First Avenger.
One of my favourite films of my childhood. So, getting to watch, essentially, that person do another superhero origin story for me, that was fantastic. I know a lot of people like Winter Soldier more. That's fine. I can see why.
Yeah, I
they
do.
like
I
it
prefer
more.
Winter Soldier. Yeah.
Yeah, I really love Captain America: The First Avenger because it just gets the feel of everything that should be there right for me. Having watched the previous Captain America film as well.
Ooh.
Oh yes.
Ooh.
I watched the slightly low budget produced in Italy.
It can get worse. You could try watching the previous Nick Fury film.
It's the one with Hasselhoff in.
Yeah, ha.
Okay, yep. No, that's
White hair and eye patch.
yeah. That.
Well, it's the thing that Nick Fury before the
Yeah,
MCU
careful.
was a
Careful.
well in the comics.
No.
I've seen.
No. For
No,
most of his comic life, yes, he was a middle-aged white guy with grey hair
Yeah.
and an eye patch. Mark Miller, when he reinvented him for the Ultimates,
Yeah.
the
I can't
artist.
I can't quite reach my copy now, but there is literally in Ultimates a scene where they ask Nick Fury who
Yeah.
should play him in the film, and he says Sam Jackson, obviously,
Yeah,
because
the artist clearly based his design on Samuel L. Jackson, and then they got him to play him. It's just perfect.
yeah, well, if you actually read the Ultimates, and I wouldn't suggest reading all of it. There's only certain bits of it that are good, and also it's Mark
Part
Miller.
Part one and two, I think he stands up, and but beyond that, I got bored.
It is also Mark Millar, so like certainly controversial figure within comics, can only write comics certain ways, has a certain taste. We won't go there too far.
So I think you could quite happily argue that the Ultimates, as in not the other spin-offs and the other X-Men and everything else, but the Ultimates definitely there's a level of homage to Watchmen for me. He's taking a lot of
and also it was pretty much inspiration for this iteration of the MCU with a couple of tweaks here and there. I mean, they've reverted Wasp to something else, but go on.
So the I think it's one of the opening, as part of the opening scene of Ultimates 2. They rip off throwing Banner out of a helicopter for the Edward Norton Incredible Hulk movie, where he just goes, I'll just get me near it and I'll jump. And that's what they do in Ultimates to unleash the Hulk, because you haven't seen the Hulk properly by this point, and they just throw him out of it. He's compliant, but they throw him out of the helicopter and he becomes Hulk just before he hits the ground, which I quite like.
Yes. Sorry, you made me think of a previous conversation with me from today where we were discussing Tim Roth, because he's in at least one of the Hulk movies.
Incredible Hulk, yeah, the same one, yeah, Edward Norton film, yeah.
Those two films, Hulk and Incredible Hulk, kind of blend in my mind in a very strange way, because
they're quite different.
I don't wish to remember really either of them.
I like Incredible Hulk. The CG's a bit over the top and stuff, but I like what they did with the characters. I've been a big fan of Hulk. It had a bit of gothiness going on in the story a bit as well. I found I like what they did. I like what they were setting up. I like where it could still go. I've read quite a lot of Hulk. I've read more Hulk than I have General Avengers.
Okay, that is interesting.
I like Hulk. It's especially Garth Ennis wrote for a long time. Guy created Preacher and countless other things, but yeah, pretty good.
Okay. Well, I think
interesting. Yeah.
I think in future episodes we can go back to your journey through the MCU, Alex, and see where you're up to. And just make sure that you're sticking to that path and getting all the way through. Then we can have opinions on Black Panther. But I'll move on to another film that I've watched in the last week or so, which I don't think is quite out in the UK yet. It will be soon, and that was 1917. So
I saw that in cinema as well.
This was an interesting film, primarily because it's the first film in. Excuse me. It's the first film in a very long time where I've got to the end of the film And I've just had to have 20 minutes sat down, just kind of breathing and thinking and trying to get myself back to a place of balance, because I absolutely loved this film, but it is by no means an easy watch.
Yeah.
So, for those not aware, it's a 2019 film directed by Sam Mendes. It's got, I think there's like a main group that it follows, who are relatively unknown actors at the time it was filmed.
Yeah.
But does have a lot of strong British character actors backing them up. You've got Colin Firth in there, Benedict Cumberbatch, Mark Strong, and frankly, any film is improved by the presence of Mark Strong.
Agreed.
But it deals with it's got an interesting, and it's not a gimmick. It's got an interesting setup in that it is a film told in what is effectively appearing as one shot. It is presented as one continuous shot with one arguable moment where that may not be true.
Yeah, I would say there's two obvious breaks, but at that side, yes.
Yeah,
agreed.
it's presenting it as a contiguous piece.
I think it's interesting to segue briefly to the conversation. I think you were involved in as well on Facebook, where a friend of the show, Conrad, was talking about it and said that he got broken out of the reality of it because it felt too much like a first-person shooter game. And I didn't find that, but I could see what he means.
It's an interesting comment. I can sort of see where he's going with that. I'm not. I don't agree.
No, I didn't find that at all. But I
yeah,
could see how it is that. Yeah. It is that intense. It is that kind of Yeah.
But I think that the word you've picked there is exactly right. It is a very intense film because it's at all times keeping the camera within a few feet of where everything's happening. You know pretty much as the main characters do. You don't know what's happening at headquarters. You don't know what's being prepared for elsewhere. The whole plot of the thing is that two soldiers are called in to meet a general, and he says, yes, we have to stop this attack going ahead here because it's clearly a German trap, as seen from these aerial photos. But you need to get there, and you need to get there by tomorrow morning. Off you go.
A bit more of a personal element, as in it's one of the two of them.
Yeah.
His brother is in that unit as well. It was that kind of buy-in with them as well. Yeah.
So it does become, we need to get there now. And it makes it clear, just from that one diagram of you will be crossing what was, possibly we don't know, the German front line. You will have to go through no man's land and race to these people because there are 1,600 lives on the line. And it follows that journey so closely through barbed wire and bullets and explosions, but on the flip side it also follows it through calm, peaceful, almost tranquil looking places as well.
Yeah.
And it's very effective at ratcheting up the moment very well and slowly, so you don't quite feel it until the tension is really on top of you. It also has a great way of, and I have to go back to what I said to a friend when discussing this. It has violence in it, but it's not pornographic with violence. It just deals with this is trench warfare. This shell hole might be full of half a body. And that's it. It makes that statement clear. It says war is horrible, this is appalling, but we need to deal with this like they dealt with it, and we just need to get on with this. The one thing I would say is that if you are feeling in need of a nice, happy, light-hearted movie at the moment, because you are
this
locked,
is not it.
Yes, because you are locked at home. 1917, very much not the film for you right now. But it's one of those few films where I knew it was going to become like a top film of mine before it had finished because I felt so involved in what was going on.
Do you know what I felt? I felt involved. I felt connected with the characters, and I loved the cameos with the coming because they're very strong characters for the most part. When you see these character actors, as you say, but I found that it didn't really get me. It didn't wrench into me until he opened his little tin and looks at his photos of his sister and his mum, and the little notes on the back of the photos. That was the bit where that was the humanity level, which is quite near the end. The humanity just it really grounds because they've gone a long way from where they started, and it's just that kind of, I don't know. It's hard to kind of, it really
that is the
grounded
moment.
The characters.
Yeah, that is the moment where the film is giving you permission to breathe again.
Yeah.
Because
or other things. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so there's a point just before that where at that point
You've got to be careful of spoilers now.
Yeah, the person who's involved is told what you are about to do is suicide, don't. But he knows he has to, otherwise he won't make it to the place he needs to be on time.
Yeah.
And that point where you see the first real pull back of the camera as something happens, and how this character is pushing to get where he needs to be, that's the point where it broke me, and I just started crying at that point, because it was so intense and there was so much pressure. We have actually had a question from someone listening to the show. Hello, Rich Dean. A name that will be familiar to some people who've listened to us previously. And it asks, since you've talked 1917, do you have any opinions on Grave of the Fireflies? So, for people unaware of Grave of the Fireflies, it is a film set in the Second World War that deals with the aftermath of part of the aftermath of the war in Japan. It's dealing with I think children who've lost their family. I have read the synopsis. I have not been able to bring myself to watch that film.
I haven't watched it either.
So there are certain films like that where even beforehand I sit there and go, I know that's going to be an excellent film. I know it's going to impact me. I'm not sure I can get myself in a mindset to watch this because I know it's going to hurt.
Sometimes it depends. Depends. I think you have to get in the right mindset, and sometimes it takes a long time to get there, doesn't it? Because I haven't watched it, although it's something that I was aware of, and again, think I need to be in the right frame of mind to watch. I think movies definitely affect most of us more emotionally, or have a greater emotional effect on us as we get older.
Yeah.
I don't know if Alex would agree, but certainly having children magnified that for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Because suddenly you have this. There's a weight of something else to lose, I think, which is something that a lot of films will tie into, or you'll empathically tie into as well. So I think that's why Toy Story will make you cry. Primarily, as soon as you're a parent, Toy Story rips you in half. It's just ridiculous. Even the first one, but especially the third one. Especially the third one. I've not even watched the fourth one.
I was going to say that the third one is pretty emotionally draining as it stands.
It has got Totoro in it, though. Has got Totoro in it. But yeah. Just Jesus Christ. But anyway, no, I haven't watched it. It's something I would like to watch. Got to be in the right frame of mind. I'll get myself to the right kind of. I don't know. I feel like sometimes it's like with horror films. I thought about something recently. There was I've caught up with the recent Doctor Who recently, and there was a really good episode where she meets Mary Shelley, and they talk about Frankenstein to an extent, kind of hypothetically, because she hasn't written it at that point. But her and her husband and Byron are sat around talking about horror ghost stories and horror stories, and it's supposed to be the night that she conceives before actually writing it. And it struck me at that point, especially with the current circumstances, that horror is almost a vice. It is a decadence device. We kind of don't want horror right now, because even I like horror. I watch a lot of bizarre, all kinds of different things. And although I have watched a lot of a lot of the contagion, viral explosion, carriers, all kinds of things in recent weeks. I seem to have watched that for different reasons. I have not watched much horror, and I don't kind of want to, even though it's something I enjoy, because that doesn't work as escapism when what you're living in are weird, strange, kind of scary times anyway. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's kind of part of why I haven't watched that either, because it's not really not the time to stretch oneself like that when you have what's going on anyway.
No, I segueing into things that upset you slightly. Was watching second season of Afterlife on Netflix.
I haven't watched it yet.
Oh, it's so
Is
good.
it good?
It is so good.
I like the first one a lot.
Yeah, we watched it. I mean, it's only 6 episodes. We watched
Yeah,
it in an afternoon on Saturday. But yeah, absolutely worth it. Definitely worth it. And there are some moments in that where, again, if you've not seen it, it's not much of a spoiler. It's a Ricky Gervais comedy series where he plays a man whose wife has recently passed away, suffering cancer, and it's sort of his. I want to say sort of a struggle to continue in life, but I don't know if that's really true. He sort of is quite happy to give up, and he's just sort of.
It's his dysfunctional coping mechanism. That's some of that, isn't it?
Yeah, but yeah, some of the realizations that he kind of comes to in the second season, and yeah, it's good. It's well worth watching. Well worth watching. It's,
Somebody asked him recently if it's autobiographical.
Okay, I'm not aware that it is, but
No, it's not. No, he still posts pictures of his wife on Twitter and various social media, just taking the piss out of her on a regular basis. So no, I'm pretty certain. Well, it's not, because I saw him reply to that question, and it wasn't.
But yeah, it's it's absolutely worth a watch. Absolutely worth watching.
First series is very good.
Yeah, but on the series of watching things about contagion and what have you, we watched Outbreak.
Yeah, I watched that recently. Yeah,
yeah, back on Netflix. So it's I've always liked that film. To be honest with you, I think it's quite good. But yeah,
I agree. It's very good. I finally watched the first episode of Killing Eve. It's like a segue of catching up with stuff, and I will now binge the hell out of it because we're going to watch some with my other half the weekend, and we didn't get around to it. But I will binge the living daylights out of that, I think, in the next coming days, because I was massively impressed. I managed to avoid too many spoilers. I didn't even know which one of them was called Eve.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to watch that because I don't have a TV license, so no BBC for me.
Why? Anyway, let's not go into that. Yeah.
Because I'm cheap. That's why. No. I just I don't think there's enough valuable TV on that's either live or on iPlayer to warrant.
I suppose
you've moved into the realm of the cable cutter.
I value the BBC as an entity. I value BBC Radio. I value BBC television. So I'm happy to pay for it.
Yeah, I get it from that standpoint. And it kind of came from a part of my life when financially I probably wasn't doing as well as I am now. And absolutely, I'm sure could afford to pay for the TV license, but then at the same time, it's almost, I've gone the best part of 2 years without having a TV license, without watching live TV or, iPlayer or anything like that. So,
I watch very little, although in recent months I have watched a lot more News 24 than I had in the previous 10 years. But I'm not joking either. News 24 is generally what goes on briefly, but then I'll put something else on. But I live on Netflix and YouTube, but then I have watched things like Fleabag, which is what led me to Leave, which is fantastic.
Don't get me wrong. There's absolutely stuff on there that I would really like to watch. Fleabag, one of them. Killing Eve, another. And I'm sure eventually we will get.
They'll be on streaming services eventually anyway as well. So
they are. Fleabag season 1's on Netflix, I think.
Oh really?
I think so. I watched one of them on Netflix and one of them on iPlayer. So I think season 1's on Netflix and season 2 is on iPlayer.
Oh really?
I think so. They're very different. They're very different things. Same characters, same humour, but she's different. She's dealing with different things in different series. It's interesting.
Yeah, I don't think it's on Netflix. I'm just having a quick look.
I thought it was.
But
maybe it's on Amazon.
Yeah, I have seen some of Fleabag. I was over at a friend's house a few months ago. Oh yeah, it's on Prime. It's on Prime.
That's right. I knew it somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, so we watched a little bit there. So I've sort of had a taste of it.
If you want to laugh before you watch it, go on YouTube and go and find Donald Glover presenting I think it's a BAFTA.
Yes, no, I have seen that.
You've seen that?
Yeah.
That's really good. It's just very funny. It just talks about his first meeting of Phoebe Waller-Bridge and then going home after meeting her and finding her far too lovely and it being really annoying, and then going home and expecting to watch her show and think it was awful. It's really good. Of course, doesn't think that at all. It's really good. If you haven't seen it, Mike, go find it. It's really...
Okay. No, to be honest, and this is going to sound incredibly out of touch with the world in general. The only TV I've watched for the past 2-3 months, I've caught up on 5 seasons of 30 Rock, and I'm into, I think, season 4 of The Simpsons on Disney Plus. Interspersed with, and this is even more niche, so bear with me, interspersed with tank chats on the Bovington Tank Museum YouTube page.
Wow.
They have like 100 videos on different kinds of tanks that they take 10 minutes to review each one.
So I have had one of them come up after watching too much of Adam Savage, and it segued into tanks once. And I grew up not far from that place, and I've certainly been there more than once. I don't need more tanks.
Yes, you do. Everyone needs more tanks in their life.
The reason I go near that place is to go to Monkey, because Monkey World is opposite the Tank Museum.
I had actually given genuine consideration to, when the lockdown is finished, going, yes, I'm going to have a day at Bovington Tank Museum.
It's a good place. Simulator's good. It's a good place.
Anyway, side point.
Monkey's opposite as well. Monkey's a good too.
But like, that is the extent of my TV viewing, and pretty much has been for months. Maybe The Mandalorian at the end of last year.
We're because I'm not a VPNer. We're watching The Mandalorian at the moment.
It's good, isn't it?
It's good stuff.
So good.
We've the final episode is out on Friday, so we're almost there.
The other thing that I watched probably at cinema time and I have rewatched is Witcher.
Yeah, we watched that. It's good.
I think I've watched Witcher 3 times now. I love Witcher.
Oh, see, now I have problems with that series, because I think that it can be a good series when was it Jaskier?
Dandelion, whatever, yeah.
Yeah, when he's there, perfectly fine. Do
you mean the Bard, don't you?
Yeah.
He's got the original name, but yeah, the English translation books called him Dandelion, because the word you just said means a small yellow flower that looks a bit like a dandelion, but isn't a dandelion.
Okay.
Yes.
But I feel like I want to go up to the director of that show, and just whenever they set their camera up, just put it back to being, level with the floor. Because half that show, I feel like I'm watching with my head tilted to one side or the other, because they keep putting the camera at 45 degrees to the floor, and it annoyed me the entire time. And I feel like there's a really good show trying to get out of that show.
I love it.
It's just not there for me. I think
it got me. Yeah.
Henry Cavill, I have no problems with it. He's one of the better parts of the show.
Do you know he was trying to be in that show before they had it written and before they had directors?
This is a man who is spending his quarantine painting Warhammer figures.
Warhammer, yeah.
I can fully believe that one.
Yeah, I saw an interview with him and he was saying he was on the phone to his agent going, if you phone them, well, phone them again. Phone them today. Phone them again. And when he finally got the producer to phone him back, he was like, okay, so we haven't got it written yet. We haven't got a producer. And Henry Cavill had played like Witcher 3, and he's like going, I'm doing this. This is what I want to do. And he's like, yes, we understand that. We'll definitely keep you in mind, but we'll come back to you when we've got that far. And it's like, keep the pressure on. It's really good.
Keep the pressure on.
Keep badgering them. Keep going for it.
That's fair.
I really like it. I found none of it jarring. What's really interesting I found was the first 2 books are short stories, and most of them are in that first series.
Yeah.
Most of the short stories. The way that it combines the long arcs with the short stories, I think is really good. I think the thing is a lot of time passes. There's 3 different sets of time going on at the same time.
Yeah, that was the one thing that I wouldn't say was jarring, but was kind of a little bit.
So the little girl has about 2 weeks. You've got Yennefer, who's about 600-700 years, and you've got Henry Cavill, who's even longer. Geralt, yeah, it wouldn't come for a sec, but yeah, Geralt. So he's even longer. His timeline through those stories, and I would imagine the next series is going to be similar, because they haven't used up. They've only really used the first book's worth of stories and the bits that lead into the main 5 novels. So they've got at least as many short stories to use again, if they want to, and then they've got the Blood of Elves, which is the first book. It's interesting. I've started reading them. I love it. I love the whole concept of all of it. I can't believe I haven't found it before.
Yeah, I will say I did play a chunk of the first game, and it doesn't work very well. I'm told the third game is really good, but the first
I've
game
started on the third one. I do like it, and I keep meaning to set aside some serious time for it, but time is not. I'm not being furloughed, so I don't have any time to play it.
Yes, some of us do have to find something to do with our days, which may be why I've watched so many films recently. Okay. Is this then perhaps a good time to perhaps start winding down the episode? Do we need to do any other business section in this? Because, let's face it, this has all been any other business.
We could do a hobby segue from film.
Do we have to?
As any other business, as in a little bit.
On the
because nobody's
subject
playing
of
the
books,
games,
actually.
are they? Sorry?
Subject of books. One book I read recently, I don't know if either of you two have read it, but is Last Empire by Brendan Sanderson.
I know Sanderson's stuff. I've never read any of it.
No, I haven't either.
Last Empire is very good. Final Empire. I
See,
really
can't
enjoy
even
it.
get the name of the books he's recommending right. It's absolutely terrible.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But no, it's a good book. Can definitely recommend it. It's sort of one of those ones that you read, and as you read it, you think, oh yeah, this would make a great TV or film series, or whatever. But then, actually thinking back on it now, I think a lot of what goes on in the book would be difficult to bring to the big screen. But I think there's been kind of conversations that it's going to get a deal at some point for quite some time now, but as of yet, it's not made its way. But I'd say Brendan Sanderson is sort of regarded quite widely as one of the up and coming sort of fantasy writers around. So you never know, we may well see it hitting the big screen or little screen at some point soon.
Okay.
But things can take a long time. I mean, even when they do it, I was thinking Altered Carbon was 17, 18 years between the book and then the TV series finally coming out.
Really?
Development hell is a very real thing.
Well, it was optioned. The reason that Richard Morgan became a full-time writer is that it got optioned very quickly. He got paid, and that's what enabled him to retire from, I believe, teaching, and then start writing full-time. And that's because of Altered Carbon got optioned really early on.
Yeah. That's it. It's it's that concept, isn't it? If you've got that concept,
it was going to be a film, and I think it would have made a poor film, or it could have been a series of films. But now the long form, as they call it, these TV serials are now really taking these big stories and doing interesting things with them.
So what can actually be interesting occasionally is to look at the list of films considered to be in development hell.
Oh wow!
So you got things on there like Alita: Battle Angel that was there for 19 years.
Yeah.
The longest one I've seen so far is perhaps Beetlejuice 2.
Oh God!
Which was commissioned in 1990, and the last time Burton spoke of it was in 2017. It was only announced last year that had been shelved. So that was 29 years in development hell.
Wow.
Deadpool was in development for more than 15 years.
Mm.
What else have we got on this
Well,
list?
to be honest, that only got pushed over the line because that little treatment bit got leaked, didn't it?
Yeah. That is the thing.
It was a kind of a pseudo trailer, not quite, got leaked, and it got onto the internet.
Yeah.
Oh, then.
And I think Ryan Reynolds was pushing very hard.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Oh, it's actually got Venom on here as well, which was in development hell for 21 years.
Yeah, I believe that. We heard about that a long time ago, didn't we?
Yeah, 1997.
I think
it was originally written.
We just stopped believing it, didn't we?
Yeah. Which, I would say, just briefly, if you've not seen Venom, the promotional material looked terrible. The film itself, bizarrely enjoyable.
I like it, yeah.
Yeah, I've not seen it. I've not seen it for
I like
that
it a
very
lot.
reason. And I'm wary of anything that's not MCU.
As you would be right to be. I think if we've proven anything, it's that Sony and formerly Fox had some interesting relationships with.
Anything that had Kevin Feige's name attached to it is worth watching.
I don't know if he was attached to Venom though.
No, I don't think he was. No, I'm meaning earlier.
So what's he attached to then?
So things like X-Men 1 and 2, there's only 3 Spider-Man movies, probably includes the third one, which I would avoid, but Spider-Man 2, and Spider-Man 1, I think his name's attached to both those two. Before the MCU, before Iron Man, he was involved with a lot of more films than you think.
Oh, I'm looking at some of these and going, oh, I'm not sure I trust that judgment.
Wait, Daredevil, isn't there? He's attached to Daredevil too.
He was attached to Daredevil and Elektra.
Oh, that's awful. All right, I'm going to shut up. I'm going to set that back.
Let's see, Spider-Man 3.
I don't dislike that Daredevil. I don't dislike it, but Elektra's awful.
X-Men: The Last Stand.
Yeah.
2 of the many Fantastic Four movies.
The 2 Fox ones. Rise of the Surfer and the one before that, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't attached to was it Fant Four Stick or
Rise of the Surfer isn't bad.
It's not. To be honest, I found those 2 films fun.
Yeah.
But I knew they were bad.
And Surfer's a very difficult thing to do with Galactus and everything else. It's just difficult. They're going to find that difficult. If that's what they're going to do for the next MCU arc, it's going to be hard now, let alone then.
Their choices for Galactus in the 2007 Rise of the Silver Surfer film were poor. I feel there is more you could do with that character.
Yes.
And to be honest, like, if you want to know something interesting you could do with it, pick up comic book series called Planetary. I think it's called Planetary anyway. I'm gonna have to look this up now because I've got the omnibus all in one volume. Yes, so it's Planetary by Warren Ellis.
Ooh.
Yes.
Oh, I'm listening now. Mm.
It's a series that was designed as something of a breakdown of the superhero genre. It's very much an extension of something like Watchmen, but in a very different world.
Oh.
So it's dealing with essentially a private superhero group. But there's an awful lot of things in there. It deals with like an off-brand Fantastic Four, but what would happen had their powers encouraged them to perhaps move into something that's more super villainry.
Ooh.
And it also deals with, well, let's take the concepts of their powers, not necessarily what the common perception of them is. And I can't really talk too much more about that without massively spoiling it.
What's it called?
Planetary. Yeah.
I write that down.
There is a whole point where it took me a while to realise what I was seeing, and that was their interpretation of Galactus in that series.
Oh wow, really? So it really is a kind of reimagined Fantastic Four in many ways.
But done by DC.
Oh, who is that?
Yeah, it's Wildstorm DC, but it is.
Yeah. It's
it is
off-brand
DC.
kind of. Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I have the omnibus of it, which is enough to kill a small child. It is.
Yeah, I
It's-
bought the first omnibus from Saga and it made it more work. I love it, but it's a lot.
Yeah, it's.
You realise you have told me this on payday, don't you?
Oh, it's a bad miss.
I watched a collection of those on day with the children around as well. I was crying with laughter. Oh, that's another bad miss. And the oversharing of the details of the players is great. Oh, temporarily out of stock. Right, I'm going to go look elsewhere.
You're safe for now.
I'm safe until I Google further, but it's not on Amazon.
What I would say is the omnibus also collects some of the side projects. One of which is okay. It's an encounter with Batman, but but Batman is not from their universe.
Okay.
They're meeting him at a fracture in reality.
Right.
But what happens is every couple of minutes this fracture in reality shifts. So you just see as it changes from panel to panel a slightly different Batman each time.
Oh.
So it'll start off with like the 60s Batman, but then it changes angle and all of a sudden you're dealing with something much more like 80s and gritty, but then it'll move somewhere else in reality and you'll see something a different interpretation. It's very strange.
You've definitely intrigued me. I'm looking.
Yeah. Warren Ellis is enough to intrigue anyone for most comics, frankly.
I think I particularly like his work with Ben Temple-Smith with what's it called? The guy
What's
Fell.
it called with the guy? Brilliant.
Fell, which had book 2 written until Warren Ellis had his laptop nicked or lost it and lost book 2. So it took forever for book 2 to rematerialize. But what I like Ben Temple-Smith's art and Warren Ellis wrote Fell and book 2. I haven't read book 2. I think it has eventually come out, but they work together very nicely.
Okay.
I also like Ben Temple-Smith's solo stuff. Absolutely barking mad. You ever read any Wormwood? It's really nuts.
No,
It's
not
sick. It's really good.
Okay. I think the possibly best way to go into the end might be kind of like talk about something we're planning to watch soon.
Yes, because we can report back next time, can't we?
Yeah. I mean, I'll start this one. I've just bought Monsters to have a watch. It is the film that Gareth Edwards did before Godzilla.
That's not the reporter trying to get the girl across into the States? That's not it. Is it?
I'm now having to look at the plot because I've not looked too much into it. Thank you, Wikipedia, for failing me.
I think that's it.
Possibly.
If that's it, it's good. It's very good.
Oh no, it's got no kind of synopsis on there. But if I was going to guess from the poster, I'd say you're probably right.
Yeah, I think it's good. Try to go out in Mexico. Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's the right one, it's good.
Yeah, but it's a lower budget. Oh, I've just seen the budget, $500,000. It's a lower budget film that Gareth Edwards did before doing Godzilla, and I loved the reboot of Godzilla. I know not to everyone's taste, but
I liked it.
So that's on my watch list before we next.
I mean, it didn't have Matthew Broderick. I like Matthew Broderick, but didn't have him, so it was good. So I already said I'm going to watch a lot of Killing Eve, which I will. The other thing I would like to watch is a film called Spartan. I've watched way too much of Adam Savage recently. I'm really enjoying watching Adam Savage tested. He used to do Mythbusters, but builds stuff and does stuff, and it's fascinating watching him. He just talks through what he's doing, especially a lockdown where he does lots more Q&A, but is now filming things on his own with his phone, or with guidance from the team remotely telling him what to do.
So if you want an interesting crossover, there's an episode that he's done, I don't know where it is, I just found it on YouTube, with a guy called Matt Parker, who is a stand-up mathematician. And
I think I've watched some of his stuff, yes.
Yeah, he's talking with Adam Savage about his book, When Maths Goes Wrong.
Oh.
It's a very good watch. I think it's like a 45-minute interview.
Cool.
And it's just talking about how Matt Parker finds maths fun, how he made maths fun for Adam Savage in places, and the book itself. So I definitely suggest that one's worth a watch.
Cool. So he recommended, I think, in isolation and talking about things he likes to watch and was raving about movies. And I'm talking about, he's obsessed with makers and likes watching people make things as well, and what he likes to watch on YouTube because somebody asked him in the Q&A. And he really likes David Mamet, and he recommended 2 David Mamet films. One is Heist, which is kind of pseudo 70s, but made in the early 2000s ish. And you trying to, Alex? You right?
I've got a manual mute on my headset. So
It does.
Click that on.
It does make a very audible noise.
Oh, okay, I will refrain from using my manual. Then.
He recommended 2 films. One with Gene Hackman called Heist, which I watched, which I really enjoyed, which is trying to be a 70s gritty drama thriller, but doesn't quite manage it, but it's still pretty good. And the other one is Spartan that I haven't watched yet, which I watched that. I think I'd like to watch that as well sometime soon. I can find a way of watching it. William H. Macy and Val Kilmer. I like Val Kilmer. I know he's not always good, but usually worth looking at. It's got a reasonable IMDb, but I think I can see me having a lot of Killing Eve in the next few weeks.
Fair enough. Okay. Alex, anything you've got planned to watch?
More Marvel, pretty much. Finish off watching that, and then move on to the next thing.
See, what we'll have to do when you're up to date is basically sit here and kind of work through where we think all the films are, maybe going from what we think are the worst films up to the real top of the tree. Although that one might take a while. So.
Yeah. And there'll be some good segues into other movies off the actors.
Sorry, Kurt, you broke up there.
There will be some good segues off of those movies into other movies with the actors and directors and stuff.
Absolutely.
That'll ramble horrendously.
Yeah, a lot of Marvel does branch out and borrow some very good actors from other places.
Things like 21 Bridges and things like that as well springs to mind. Yeah.
So
another time.
Okay, you've been listening to the Quarantine Film Club.
Mike, just sorry.
There we go.
Carry on.
Yep. Yes, Alex.
Oh no, I'm finished now.
Okay,
just make sure you were.
Nostalgia is a wonderful thing.
You've been listening to the Quarantine Film Club. We'll hopefully be back for another episode when we feel like it, frankly. I've been Mike.
I've been Kurt.
I've been Alex.
Bye.
Say goodbye, Nick.
Bye, Nick.
Oh, we're carrying that one over, are we?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you to the various people who've been listening in.
Various
on
people?
YouTube.
What, more than Rich?
Yeah, Matt Townsend's been watching. Cool. Richie's been watching. I've actually had a couple of friends from elsewhere watching as well, so that's been interesting. I'll have to see what I can do in the edit, because obviously there's that breakage at the start and switching over to a VPN, which was less than convenient. But seems to have held together for the rest of the time, so hey,
cool.
That works. Yeah, I now have a very dry mouth. Lots of talking.
Do you not have a drink? I had a drink.
I did, but I finished it. But yeah. So
I started painting some clones. It's good.
Fair enough. I have plenty to paint on my desk. It's just
everyone does.
Firestorm won't send me my king paint. I've had
no. There's other. I could recommend you a good place to buy paint, but if you've already paid them, you might not want to do that.
No, I've already paid them. But the problem is, as part of my order, I've got Ashling 2 in there. Which is an interesting
Never coming.
Quite you. But yeah, I have a Frost Giant King on my desk, which is sat here, but I don't have any white. Which, like other colours, I could just mix up.
Frost Giant King. That sounded like you had Glacier King for a second there in my head. I was like, Frost Giant King? What? One of those? No.
No, I've actually I don't know if you've seen I've started painting D&D miniatures because we're playing virtually.
We're living
now.
in strange times. That's why.
Yeah,
No,
indeed.
Well, this is the thing. I started painting D&D miniatures before the lockdown, presuming that we would be continuing with our D&D campaign on a tabletop. So now I have a couple of £100 worth of D&D miniatures, and we're running it online.
You need those then.
Yeah, absolutely. But the thing is, I'd wanted these miniatures from Reaper forever, the giant miniatures, because I thought they were really cool. And I've painted up the Fire Giant Queen, and I had a really good time with that. I was like, yeah, I'll roll on to the Frost Giant Lord, and still waiting on those paints.
Have you? I don't know if I posted public pictures of my new desk arrangements. I moved, obviously, and I've now got a whole new painting desk.
Oh, I have been watching those in the Grumpy Sky.
Oh, you have,
paint.
yeah. So I've got a wonderful. Who's made it? Polish company made. It's called Hobbyzone.pl, which is lovely MDF little drawers and stuff. And it took about D&D miniatures. On top at the back is the Raoul Partha Bridge of Sorrows dragon.
Oh, very nice.
Which I've owned for what I reckon is 27 years.
See, I don't have a proper...
It's not painted. It's primed by hand white. It's before I started spraying priming. So I was at least... I wasn't 20. I was at least a teenager. And I probably, before I moved out, which was the same thing, I suppose, and... Yeah, it's primed white, and I've always been too scared to paint it. I'm probably not too scared now. It's just been sat around. I found it during the move and went, right, it can go there, and it can loom over me until I paint it. I don't even know what colour I want to paint it. I don't know now. Throw contrast paints at it and see what happens.
See, I don't have a proper, like, D&D scale dragon. What I had planned to use, because my party is, shock of horrors, heading towards an area with a dragon in, is just the one from...
Super Dungeon Explore.
Yes. Because that fits nicely in a case.
Yeah. I just knew you were going there because I knew you've got it. Yeah.
It's like that whole thing of, I've got a dragon. What minions can they have? Kobolds. Oh no, I don't want to buy kobold miniatures. Wait, I own Super Dungeon Explorer. I have all the kobolds I could ever need. And just pour them in there.
Yeah.
Because
you
can fit like 3 in every 1 miniature space in the case.
Yeah.
I did end up having to take a wheelie case with me to D&D because it's like, okay, so...
What?
Yeah, this is the thing. I have a 3 foot by 3 foot roll-out 1-inch grid. I have a bucket of wooden construction blocks so I can make walls and stuff. I have a full KR case of enemies, including, because, you know... what we've got Crow's Cutthroats as bandits. You've got some Kayazi as general thieves, and like PP miniatures work surprisingly well for D&D, which is why I'm planning to use Warjacks at some point as well as constructs. I've forgotten where I was going with this, but yeah, so I've got some trees in there, which I've bought some like Oasis foam from florists, so that I can cut that up and use that as basis for the trees, so that I can actually go onto the grid. I bought some felt, which I've marked with 1-inch squares.
Wow.
Yeah, it's some blue felt I've marked in 1-inch squares, so I can use that as water. So I did an awful lot of work for a tabletop game that we're not playing on a tabletop anymore.
Outstanding.
Yeah, but the players are enjoying it. I've just exiled them from a city. I was kind of expecting them to try and fight the big bad, but they walked away, and now I'm confused, and I'm not sure where I'm going with this anymore. And oh god,
That's what you want. Well, that's what they want.
yeah.
Kurt, how much did all your Hobby Zone stuff cost you?
The whole lot.
Yeah.
It was two different shipments. Probably the whole lot was probably about 130 quid.
Ooh, that's a pretty penny, isn't it?
It is, but 70 and then 60 something wasn't too bad, or 50 something wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
I think I spent 70 quid because it seems like a lot of money when you look at Polish currency, and then you realise how cheap that is in pounds and how cheap each individual unit is. And then you go, oh, I'll buy those bits. And then you go, actually, if I just buy that, and that, and that, and that, and that, it would look amazing. And that's what I did, and spent another 50 odd quid. So 120, 130, I think, all told, but in 2 different months, it's a couple of months apart.
Yeah. I'm looking at some sort of storage system. I don't know. And I'm almost inclined just to go the cheap and cheerful option and get the nail polish stems.
Yeah.
But then it's kind of a little bit wasteful space-wise. So if you could get some, I don't know, maybe even have a look at the base units and see if kind of size-wise they'll match up. And
they're 30 centimeters. You can buy width-wise. You can either buy 20 or 30 centimeter wide sections. They're almost a foot for the widest standard kind of width, and they are 15 centimeters high. And there's wide. It's interesting because I really struggled with what I wanted and where until I bought stuff and got some of it here and went, oh, okay. So I do want to do that. I do want the corner pieces. I do want. And I haven't got excessive with paint trays, but I really like having them. All my paints are like, or not all, but most of my paints are out. Sensible ones that I use.
How deep are they?
So I bought the completely open ones. How deep? How deep is each section?
So the base units, yeah. How deep?
15 centimeters.
Let's have a quick look.
Right, I'm going to have to go, so I shall see you guys another time.
Worries.
Right,
Enjoy.
tatty bye.
Pleasure speaking to you.
See you there.
Yep.